You're a skilled MMA fighter who could knock out a grown man without breaking a sweat. But your biggest opponent isn't some cage-fighting beast. It's making it to your 7-year-old daughter's birthday party on time. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, buckle up. Because what starts as a dad trying to balance work and family time quickly spirals into the most intense game of beat the clock you've ever seen. Our story kicks off in a typical gym setting where we meet Octavio Bergman, and let me tell you, this guy is the real deal. He's got the kind of build that makes you cross the street just to avoid eye contact. But here's the twist. Underneath all those muscles beats the heart of a father who just wants to show up for his kid. The day starts innocently enough. Octavio's getting ready for what should be a routine fight, and he's already thinking ahead. He's got Lini's birthday card ready to go. Here's where things get interesting. Octavio isn't just worried about being late. He's genuinely terrified of disappointing his daughter again. That's real vulnerability right there. So they head to Nick's arena, and we meet Chino and folks. This is where you need to pay attention, because this guy is going to be important later. Chino greets them with the top friendliness that immediately screams, I'm definitely up to something shady. His brother's there too, showing Octavio respect. Then Octavio's opponent, Benno, shows up and starts talking trash. Now, normally this would be standard pre-fight psychology, but our guy Octavio is already stressed about the time, and this just adds fuel to the fire. He's motivated, he's ready, and he just wants to get this over with so he can get to that party. But here's where the movie really kicks into gear. Mina calls. Oh, Mina. She's furious because, surprise, surprise, Octavio is running late, and Lini is waiting for her dad with a cake he promised to bring. The argument is brutal, and you can practically feel Octavio's heart breaking through the phone. Meanwhile, David the lawyer calls. When lawyers start calling during family disputes, nobody's having a good day. He drops the bomb that Mina is filing for full custody, and suddenly this isn't just about missing a party, it's about potentially losing his daughter forever. The conversation gets heated and Mina grabs the phone to deliver the killer blow. If Octavio doesn't make it to the party within an hour, she's never letting him see Lenny again. 1 hour, 60 minutes. That's all that stands between this man and losing his child. Now here's where our guy makes the decision that sets everything in motion. Octavio chooses love over money, family over career, and bolts from that arena faster than you can say daddy issues. Remember Chino Wrinkler, that friendly guy from earlier? Well, turns out his friendliness came with some serious strings attached. The moment Octavio runs, he becomes a target. Chino's got goons everywhere, and they're not interested in hearing about Octavio's parenting struggles. They catch up to him pretty quickly, and they beat him down. For a moment, it looks like our hero's journey might be over before it really begins. But here's where Octavio's training pays off. He wakes up in their car, and instead of staying defeated, he unleashes everything he's got. The beatdown he delivers is absolutely brutal. Octavio gets a call from Paul that changes everything. Well, here's why the fight was fixed. Not just fixed, it was fixed with some very dangerous people's money on the line. And when he ran, he didn't just leave them hanging. He made them look like fools. Paul explains that influential people, the kind you don't want to mess, had placed substantial bets on Octavio's victory. Octavio races back to the gym, probably hoping to find some sanctuary or at least some backup. He finds Kima, his trainer, along with fellow fighters Bruno and Anika. Now, here's what I love about this part. These people could have easily stayed out of it, but they don't. They jump in to help Octavio fight off the attackers. The fight in the gym is intense, with Octavio's friends buying him time to escape while putting themselves at risk. But even with their help, the situation is getting more desperate by the minute. Octavio has to escape through a window while his friends are literally fighting for their lives downstairs. Can you imagine the guilt? Octavio spots a police car and he knocks on the window, probably ready to explain the whole situation and get some protection. But here's the kicker, the police just stare at him. They don't help. Octavio gets so frustrated with their inaction that he almost gets himself arrested. But fate has other plans. Just as the police are about to take Octavio in, which would definitely make him miss the party, one of Chino's men crashes into the police car. In the chaos, Octavio manages to escape, but now he's got both the criminals and potentially the police after him. Every good father knows that you can't show up to a birthday party empty-handed. So despite everything that's happening, Octavio makes a stop to get Lenny's cake. He meets up with Kosa at the store, and for a moment, it seems like things might work out. But then Chino's brother shows up and smashes the cake. This guy destroys the one thing Octavio was planning to bring his daughter, and that's when our hero finally loses it. The beating Octavio delivers is personal. It's not just about the cake, it's about every broken promise, every missed moment, every time he's let his daughter down. All of that frustration and guilt gets channeled into his fists, and Chino's brother learns why you don't mess with a desperate father. Just when Octavio thinks he's got a moment to breathe, Benno shows up. Remember him? The opponent from the original fight. Well, apparently, the show must go on, and if Octavio won't fight in the ring, Benno's happy to take the fight to the streets. Octavio ends up in an underground club where he has to face Benno in an impromptu fight. The crowd gathers around them like it's some kind of gladiator match, and suddenly our hero is fighting for his life in front of a bunch of strangers who just want to see blood. Benno is strong, really strong. He knocks Octavio down twice, and for a moment, it looks like this might be the end. But here's the thing about fighting for your family versus fighting for money. The motivation is completely different. Octavio gets back up, and he keeps getting back up because giving up means never seeing Lenny again. The final knockout is brutal and decisive. Octavio doesn't just win, he dominates. As Octavio leaves the club, he spots Paul in the crowd. But then you notice Paul checking his watch, and suddenly everything clicks into place. Paul hasn't been trying to help, he's been tracking Octavio's movements and reporting back to Chino and the others. The confrontation between Octavio and Paul is heartbreaking. Here's a guy who trusted his friend who thought Paul had his back, only to discover that Paul was working with the people trying to kill him. Paul tries to justify it, talking about money and business, but Octavio sees right through it. Paul begs Octavio to come back and fight, to honor the arrangement and make everyone happy. But Octavio's priorities are crystal clear. His daughter comes first, no matter what. The friendship dies in that moment, and Paul realizes he's chosen money over loyalty. With only 17 minutes left, Octavio makes a quick stop at his parents' house to patch up his wounds. It's a brief moment of peace in the chaos, but even here, the pressure is mounting. His parents are confused about why Mina told them not to come to the party, and you can see the weight of the situation crushing Octavio. Then Paul calls one more time. This time, he's apologizing, admitting that the whole fixed fight was his idea. But there's something wrong with his voice, something desperate. As Paul talks, you can sense that someone is holding a gun to his head, forcing him to try to get Octavio's location. Octavio realizes what's happening and lies about where he's going. Instead of telling Paul about the birthday party, he says he's going to a friend's place. It's a small deception, but it might be what saves his life. In a moment of brilliant desperation, Octavio calls Paul back and tells him he's going to the animal shelter to get a cat for Lini. But Octavio's not just getting a cat, he's setting a trap. He calls Rico, one of Chino's men, and gives him the shelter's address. Then he calls the police and reports armed and dangerous men at that location, requesting a SWAT team. He's basically orchestrated his own rescue operation. The poor shelter worker is terrified, but he gives Octavio the cat and gets out of there. Outside the shelter, Octavio's worst fears are realized. Chino's men have Paul hostage, and they're waiting for him. With only 4 minutes left before his deadline, Octavio has to make the hardest choice of his life: save his friend or save his chance of seeing his daughter. The decision is made for him when a gunfight breaks out. Dina's men show up and start shooting at Chino's crew, and suddenly the animal shelter becomes a war zone. The SWAT team arrives just as Octavio planned, but in the chaos, Chino manages to grab both Octavio and Paul and drag them into an empty building. Chino is furious, and he knows that Octavio is responsible for the tip-off to the police. He shoots Paul in the leg as punishment, and he's about to do worse to Octavio when Koza shows up to help. The final fight in the warehouse is absolutely brutal. It's not just Octavio versus Chino, it's a desperate battle involving multiple people. He's officially late for the party, but he's still fighting because now it's about survival. When Chino stabs Octavio in the back with a crowbar, it looks like our hero might finally be down for the count. But then Kima shows up. The battle becomes a three-way struggle, with Octavio and Kima working together to take down Chino. The moment when Chino kicks Kima over the railing is devastating. Octavio thinks she's dead, and that's when he truly loses control. Chino is down but not out, and it looks like this might be the end for our hero. But then Paul, who's been forgotten in all the chaos, picks up Chino's gun and fires a warning shot. It's a moment of redemption for Paul, who finally chooses his friend over his own interests. The shot scares Chino off, and suddenly the immediate threat is over. Paul apologizes to Octavio for everything, and Octavio, being the man he is, forgives him. But time is still ticking, and Octavio knows he has to make one final push to get to his daughter. With 4 minutes left on the clock, Octavio makes his final run to Mina's house. He's carrying the cat, he's badly wounded, and he's running on pure adrenaline and love. Every step is agony, but he keeps going because the alternative, not seeing Lainey again, is unthinkable. Just when he's almost there, his body finally gives out, he collapses, and it looks like he's going to fail at the very last moment. The cat escapes from the box, and Octavio is lying on the ground, defeated. But then, and this is where the movie gets you right in the heart, Lainey comes running out of the house.
Papa?
She sees her father on the ground, and instead of being disappointed or angry, she throws herself into his arms. The moment when Lenny hugs her father is pure magic. After everything Octavio has been through, after all the fighting and running and bleeding, this is what it was all about. His daughter doesn't care that he's late or that he's bruised and battered. She's just happy that her daddy showed up. Mina comes out to see what's happening, and when she sees the state Octavio is in, she understands. This isn't a man who didn't care enough to show up. This is a man who fought through hell to be there for his daughter. She tells David to forget about the custody papers. Why, and suddenly the family that was about to be torn apart is back together. The movie shows us that being a good parent isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up when it matters, fighting for what's important, and never giving up on the people you love. If you've made it this far without smashing that subscribe button, congrats. You officially have more self-control than I do at a buffet. But seriously, hit subscribe. I waste my life watching movies so you don't have to. It's the least you could do.